Hello everyone, welcome to another video of this series. In this video, we are going to talk about OmniScript basics. And before even starting, I hope you already requested your orgs and already logged into it. And when you'll go into the org, you see something like this. And I usually use OmniStudio console so that I can open multiple tabs at the same time, which you'll find helpful when you'll be working on OmniStudio. Mostly because you're working on OmniScripts, data raptor integration procedures at the same time. So that's why I use OmniScript console. So let's get started with the OmniScripts. What is an OmniScript, you might ask? OmniScript is a guided flow to complete a business process. Basically, it is a multi-step form, you can say, in which you want to collect or display a lot of data. So for that, you can use OmniScripts. So on your screen, you see under the OmniScript tab, there are quite a lot of OmniScripts pre-built in your demo org. So here I have one open for you already. In this, these are the element of OmniScript which you can find under various tabs. These are action tabs, display, functions, groups, and inputs, which we are going to use most of the times. And in addition to that, OmniScript also offers you to add child OmniScripts inside another OmniScript just up to one level, so that you can reuse the OmniScript at multiple places. Let's create an OmniScript of our own and see how to include all these elements and what are their functionalities. To create a new OmniScript, you need to go to OmniScript tab and click on New button. Before even creating a new OmniScript, I would like to focus on these things first. Name of any OmniScript is consist of type, subtype, and language. And this is just a label for this OmniScript. In our case, we have this open already. So if I go to this tab and show you, this is the type of this OmniScript. Edit account is subtype, and this is language, which you see in here. Now we'll create a new OmniScript by clicking on New button. We can name this OmniScript anything. It just should be relevant to whatever functionality you are developing. An API name is decided by the combination of type, subtype, and language. In our case, we are going to create a account, so we'll name it accordingly. So the type will be create and subtype will be account in our case, and I'll hit on save. So once it is saved, it gets open in a new tab since I'm using a console app, and a step is already created and it's blank as of now. And now let's explore the elements in this. Firstly, we have action element, and as the name suggests, it is basically action elements, and these are different elements that we already have in OmniStudio and in fact OmniScript. So this is data raptor extract action, post action, transform action, and turbo action. This I'll cover in the data raptor section, but if I have to explain you in a line, it is used to get the data from whatever saved data we have in our org. If we have to just extract, we can use this. If we want to save new record or update anything, we can use data raptor post. And this is transform action. It is used whenever we have to transform any data from one form to another. So let's take an example. If we are pulling data from any external API and we want to fill it in our OmniScript, we need to transform it just to match the keys that we are getting from the external API to match it or to map it with the field that we have in our OmniScript. for data wrapped turbo action, if we have to deal with just a single object, we can use turbo action. And there are other elements as well, which you can read about them by clicking on this question mark button. They will give you a small description, and we'll cover few of these throughout our course. For now, I'm skipping this and moving on to the next section, that is display. And this is used to, like, if you have few elements and after just two elements you, or maybe one element, you want to give a line break, you can use this element. Or if you have any static text that you want to show, you can use text block. Next we have function fields, where we have aggregate and formula, just like the way we have it in our Salesforce field. And the last one is the messaging field, which is a kind of special field, I would say, because it can restrict if you use it along with formulas, and if some certain condition isn't meeting, then we can display a message and restrict the user on the same step until the condition is met. We can also show warnings or success messages with this. After that, we have input fields, and in input fields we have most of the fields that we have in HTML, and in addition to that there are quite some fields. You might would like to play around with this. For our requirement, let's use a text field to capture the account name, and let's name this field as account name. Make sure you don't give any spaces or don't use any special characters, just to avoid any issues, because this will be treated as an API name for this OmniScript. For label, you can do anything. Let's give it as account name only. You can use placeholder as well. You can mark it as required, since this is a required field for any account record, so we'll mark it as required as well. There can be any default value. In our case, we don't need that. Masking, minimum length and maximum length you can configure. For now, we are skipping this because we do not have to use any of these things. However, you might want to configure maximum length if it is aligning with your field configuration. Let's say for this, we configure 100. So if we are going to put more than 100 letters in this field, it will give a validation error that you might need to reduce the size to 100. And there are other configurations as well, which we will be going through when we'll get the requirement as such. We can also change the size of any field by clicking here and dragging it to left or right. So for this, we can keep it half of the display. And similarly, I'm going to configure other fields as well, which I need. So I'll quickly add that. Now I have added all the fields, and one final thing is remaining, that is updating the name of the step. So when you click on this step field, you can give some name to it. In our case, we are giving account, and same will be using as label as well. And I'll walk you through the fields that I have added. Initially, we added this as a text field, and I will be capturing phone number. So I added a telephone field, which you can find in inputs. If you see here, similar to that, I added fax field as well, which is also a kind of telephone field. A website field, that is a URL field actually. A field to capture the revenue, and this will be a currency field, and capturing the number of employees as well. For this I'm using the number field. So similar to this, you can use different type of fields depending upon your requirement. And now we will preview this and see how it looks. So you see, this is how it looks. This is the name of the step. So if we have multiple steps, then it would have came in here after that, depending upon the order of the steps. And these are our fields which we configured. So we can enter our values here. One good thing about OmniScript is we do not have to activate it or integrate on any page. We can directly preview it on the while developing it, rather than doing extra stuff. So you see, these are the fields these are the values actually that we get whenever we initiate any OmniScript. So you can utilize these fields if required. However, they are always there. And these are the fields whenever we capture any values, new nodes gets created in here, and this is how it works in Velocity. So basically, it will end up creating a data JSON for the whole OmniScript that we are capturing the values for, and we can save it or utilize it on other steps or anywhere as per our requirement. So let's say for this one we marked as required, and now if we don't fill anything, it will show us the error. Now let's fill in something in here. Test account. Now since we have the value, that error disappeared, and you see this value got captured in account name key, and the value is associated to it. Similar to this, if we enter something in other fields as well, the same will be reflected in the data JSON. So phone is displayed here. If we have a fax number, we can enter that as well. And the reason it is looking like this is because there is a masking field for telephone number, and it is given by OmniScript by default. However, if there is any number field we have, we can mask the number field as well. And now let's enter any URL. Let's say I enter this, and so you can enter the website here, annual revenue. This was a currency field, and right now my user currency is set to INR, which is from the org itself. That's why it is showing the rupee signal. However, if it would have been USD, then it would have shown the dollar symbol, and so on, depending upon which currency is configured for the org. You can also set it for the OmniScript itself separately with in a different setting. We'll go through that as well. So you see, all of these things are appearing here in the data JSON. Let's go to design and see setup settings as well. In setup, at the very top, you see currency code. Right now it is taking the default currency code, but we can update it to any of the available options. Right now we are choosing it as US dollars. Apart from this, we can make this OmniScript as reusable as well, which means this OmniScript can be used in another OmniScript as a child OS. Also, few other things I would like to focus on, that is seed data JSON. So at the start of any flow, you want to fill in some fields or maybe set up some key value pairs which you might require later on. So you can do that here. Let's say we do a test key value pair which we want to inject into this OmniScript. There are step chart setting as well. So you can decide where you want to show your step chart. Right now it was on right when we previewed this, so I updated it to top. And There is cancel option. If you enable it, you can configure whether you want to navigate to a different page after canceling this flow, or you can decide depending upon this. We have save options as well. So this is required when you want to continue the flow later on. This can also be configured. And another important thing is styling options. Currently, there are two themes available, that is Lightning and the Newport theme, which we'll just preview. We can check that as well. So now I'm previewing it again and see the changes. You see the value that we seeded in the OmniScript, that is test and test value. Apart from that, we also updated the step chart position, which was earlier at right, and we configured it to top. Also the currency field, earlier it was showing in rupees, now it is in dollars. And the last thing that we can check is the theming options. This is known as lightning theme. We can also update it to Newport, which look a bit modern. So it looks something like this, but the functionalities remain same. It's just the UI that gets updated. Currently, none of these values are getting saved to database or any object, or neither it is creating any record. But in our next lecture, we will be covering how we can do it. So see you in the next video.